Oh, we're back out here for another night of mechanicking in the freezing cold. This site is really starting to get old. I do not want to be taking this out again. Ugh. There's a little thing I need to fill everyone in on. A few of you already know, but not many, put it that way. Yeah. Where do we start? So this motor, or half of this motor, isn't mine. Top end is mine. Still the original 1J head from when we first built this. The bottom end, on the other hand, that has run a bearing, was none other than Chad Mackenzie's. Sorry, brother. We did think we were on borrowed time with this motor. I really didn't want to be doing any more driving with this motor in the car this year. Once we did the new road drift, so the recent road drift at Okirika. V2, so after it got postponed the first time. So the whole reason why that motor was in the car, this motor had a bit of a whoopsie. One of the other reasons, more or less, why I didn't do D1 this year was because down to a few financial hiccups and struggles. One being all the mechanicals that I had, and then two, this bottom end letting go just after the season had finished. So long story short, the car sat around for 3 to 4 months, undriven, not started. Had to take my car back to Auckland to drop off. We did the subframe swap over with Brian after borrowing his winter's setup for the last round. Usually take my car for a bit of a warm-up, get a heat cycle through it. If it hasn't been driven for a while, took it down the road, maybe 5 minutes, come back, started making a ticking noise, and the ethanol in the oil contaminated the oil that was in the motor. Fresh oil as well when I put it in for Bay Park. It sat around for too long, just turned it to sludge. Long story short. And yeah, the motor just it lunched nearly all of the bearings. It starved the crank of oil, and yeah, we're lucky. We ended up having to put a new crank in it, getting one of the pistons, one of the rods, machined, so polished for a slightly oversized bearing, and that motor's been reassembled now. Apart from that. That at the time was probably just enough just to sort of put me over the edge with money, and not to mention it actually cracked 3 of the main caps for the crank. So I've ended up having to put billet main caps through the new motor, which is good. Just obviously another bulletproof aspect to the car now. Running out of time, couldn't get that motor fixed in time, so we ended up having to a good friend of ours, Chad Mackenzie, lend us a donor motor out of his car, which was huge at the time because we only had about 2 weeks until the first shoot, the video shoot for the Okirika Drift. Got that in, drove down to Taranaki, swapped the heads over, used my 1J head, got it all back and running back up to Brian's for a retune, and then yeah, so she wrote. And then the motor ended up staying in the car for a wee while. We were trying not to do too much driving on it because we knew it was sort of a motor that had done a lot of work, and a little bit on borrowed time. We just didn't want to risk it. And sure enough, yeah, that one event too late, and ended up running a bearing on Chad's motor. Number one, so I've done a bit of a strip down on the bottom end and checked as much as I can without pulling the head off and doing that, because I didn't have the actual right tools for the ATI to come off. So this motor, our good motor, will go back in hopefully in the next couple of weeks once Chad can spare some time. But yeah, it was a big job to overlay at the time, and I didn't really want to go publicising it because we were already under the pump and getting it all done. And obviously with everything else was going on at the time, it was just easy just to not tell everyone. And yeah, you think it was another one of those, like, you think you've gone to the right side and going to 2jz's, and you end up getting little issues like this, and it just sets you back, man. It was a hard one to swallow at the time, but yeah, we've come out of it. It's lessons have been learned, and I just thought, I don't know, it's just things happen, I guess. Oh well, still with the strip down. Just read the read the front cover, which I should have before I went and sussed this, but do not use 3-jaw puller. Same thing though. And I looked up, there's an actual part number for the correct tool to remove that with, so we can't really take that off and pull the rest of the front off to strip the motor down, so that's a bit of a bummer. What else have we done? Not much really, just a bit of a tidy up. But ended up deciding to cut the oil filter apart, even though we know the motor's toast, but just gives you an indication of what to look for when you're pulling, when you do servicing and stuff. It's always good to cut your filter open, and poor thing, that'll do it. Crank might be savable, bit of a polish. It's the first one I've taken off. I know second I've taken off, but 6 is fine. Let's see what the rest are like. It's a little bit hard to piece these videos together, but every time I was going to video or record anything for this sort of little breakdown, my phone kept running out of storage space, so they just sort of scattered over the last couple of days, and then me deleting stuff off my phone with old content. Yeah, I ended up doing the rest of it, pulled the rest of the caps off. 1 was the bad one, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 were all sweet, but obviously with the motor having a bit of work done to it over the years, it's probably due for a new set of bearings anyway, so we can hopefully get away with a polish and some bearings and just a check over, and then yeah, hopefully that motor's good to go, so not too much of a major. Thank you very much again, Chad, for obviously letting us borrow the motor. That was a major at the time. Got us out of a massive rut, and we were able to shoot the milk run, so thanks, bro. And for a few people asking me as well, you need to get one of those baffle kits in your car as well, man. It helps with a lot of surge. And I was like, yes, I already have one of those in my car, man. Thank you very much. A lot of the guys with wet sump 2jz's are running these. Seems to do the job. I also run an AccuSump setup as well. Maybe my lines from my AccuSump just aren't big enough, or maybe we're overthinking it. But yeah, she's a bit of a mess in here, but I think it's dash 10 in, and then dash 12 across to the where is it? You might see it. Yeah. But yeah, I might have to do a bit of research on it and see if there's any other ways of helping with the oiling systems in these cars. But you'd think they are top notch. Like, the oil galleries are far more superior than an RB30. And that was the main reason why I shifted to the 2jz. But yeah, if anyone has any tips of not lunching motors, I would love that, because I'm far from wanting to do this again. My track record has been absolutely phenomenal over the years, from blowing up multiple RBs to now 2jz's. So if you need a motor blowing up, hit me up. But yeah, that's all for now, and I will hopefully try to get some more videos up. Maybe a bit of a video of us getting a motor back together, and then back in the car, and maybe a bit of a tune. I might even look at selling my hot side on my car, chase a bit more power, if anyone's interested in buying that, moving, trying to get a bit more grunt out of your 1J or even 1.5. True boost manifold, full downpipe, screamer pipe setup, turbo smart wastegate and anti-lag setup if you want that as well. So that could be on the cards. So if you want something like that, let me know. But yeah, hopefully make a plan and make some more cool shit happen. Sweet. Catch us later.